This is how I add a new section onto my bead crochet water bottle cover. When I finish an old section, I pull out a big loop with my hook, and then I grab a pair of scissors and trim off the end. At this point, I have the loop that I just pulled with my hook, and then I have this tail, and these are both part of my old working thread. Once I have that cut, I'll set the project aside and I'll string up my new section of beads. I just grab a couple beads to attach onto my project in the beginning. If you have too many, it can get a little overwhelming, so 10 to 15 is a good number to start with. With my beads ready to go, I need to get my hook in place so I can attach my new working thread onto the project. You can see the old working thread is going through these two little loops, and that's where I need to put my hook through. It can be a little bit tricky to get your hook in these loops because they can get pretty tight, so my camera work isn't the greatest, but this is what it looks like with my hook through those two loops. And you can see here that my hook is going through the same space as this thread. Now we'll grab our small section of beads and hold it in our hands like we would normally hold our working thread. I like to pull both of my tails that I have at this point off to the side, so kind of pull it to the left, and then you want to make sure you have pretty good tension with your new working thread, because if it's too loose, it'll be really hard to control this part. What you'll do is you'll hold it up against the work, and then you'll use your hook to pull your new working thread through those two loops that your old working thread was going through. And now we can pretty much crochet like normal. We just want to make sure that we're crocheting around these two tails that we have as we go. It'll kind of encase them and make it so that we don't have to weave our tails in at the end. So this is a really nice method because there's no knots and you don't have to do any extra weaving at the end of the project. I'll show you a couple more stitches of crocheting around this thread, and I keep doing this until I finish that small section of beads, and then I'll get rid of that extra loop that I have from my old working thread. I like to pull a big loop with my hook and then just get my new working thread and my hook off to the side so I don't lose any of my stitches during this process. And then I find my old working thread loop and make sure that it's not twisted up at all. You'll give each of the tails that you're crocheting on a little tug until you find the one that is connected to your old loop, and when you pull it, that loop should disappear. With the loop gone, I keep crocheting around the tails until I have a good 3 to 5 inches covered, and then I can trim the tails off. I always double check that I'm not holding my working thread before I cut it. And that's how I add a new section onto my project. If you want to see how it turns out in the end, give me a follow and I'll keep posting updates as I go.